Okay, so for this part of our session, we'll shortly discuss the differences of this testing that we will apply in our mobile application development. Now, there are various, excuse me ha, wait lang. Hello, good afternoon, welcome back. Tumawag lang kasi si Ma'am Darlene, so I need to answer her. So let's continue. So for this afternoon, we'll talk about the testing na we will be using for the our class no for the remaining meetings. And most likely mag-benefit ani is katong mga roles na naka-assign for testing, no yung mga testers ninyo din ha. I hope you are listening and your attention is, I mean, you need to pay your attention for the entire discussion, a short discussion naman din. So I I asked you to create a infographics no for you to advance to give an idea for you to have an idea in advance know what's about this testing and this short discussion that we'll be able to share this afternoon it's just an add-on to whatever research that you have done and itong mga content na inyong nabutang sa infographics earlier. So, okay, so to start with, may we check if we can see my screen right now. I hope na lahat ay maka-response para to check also if you are there, no? Oh, I see. Okay. Nakita ko rin na most of you, no, majority of the class have submitted the activity, yung infographic activity. And by the way, I changed the deadline, the due date. I extended it for the entire day, so you can have your own update later if you want. Um, of course, if you have any additional learning na makuha after this short discussion, you can also have your own modification later. So, ayan. Sa mga hindi pa nakasubmit, maybe you can also get some idea on how to prepare your infographic after this short discussion. Okay, so shall we start? Um, First, I just want you to know, to ask why is it very important to consider asking feedback? What do you think? Why feedback is so important, guys? Let me hear from your idea, your insights about the importance of feedback for improvement. Yes. What else? To get more ideas, no, to gather some insights para makabalo ka unsa ang mga kulang. What else? Para mailhan nimo sir kung unsay need i-improve ug makita kung naabay mga bugs. Yes, that's true. Any other answers? Opinion sa other user. Thank you. We're referring to different perspectives, no? Sakto kayo. What else? So I guess you really you have really understand the importance of a feedback if in any ways of activity in any activity pala. So in software development, no, in our environment, guys, creating applications, well, asking the target users or asking opinions of every other who is directly associated, no, or connected to the application itself is also very important to know, no, para at least yun nga sinabi ninyo, to get more insights, to get some, no, ideas, and most likely this feedback, no, na ato ang ginabuhat makatabang po ni sa tuan na makakita og mga um, bagong ideas, no, bagong mga pamaagi na sa tan-aw nato sa ato ang perspective, that's the only way to achieve our goal. Pero after you ask like ask somebody what's their take, no, what's their comment about our you say our program flow, your application flow, tapos sabihin nila ay medyo taas man tayo ano, na ay 5 clicks away bago ma-achieve tong ako ang gusto makita from the landing page to my page na gusto na kong buhaton, mo kuan pa siya og 6 clicks away. Could it be more barabang better if it's lesser than 6 clicks or 6 taps away, something like that. So that's an example that if you ask somebody, if you gather some feedback, it may also help you to think differently, no? Na supposedly ganun yung pananaw niyo, ganun yung idea niyo on a certain approach, but asking somebody's opinion, no? Getting somebody's opinion, you can generally create new ways, see things in new ways. That's also feedback. The feedback also help us to correct our approach, no? So um, yun nga lang sa ato amang good sa during the development, imagine say for example, 3 months to 6 months na development, take note ang mga idea ana, ang mga opinion, ang mga suggestions are coming from that entire team who are connected. So paggawas ana siya sa market guys, it will not just only your team who will be using it, no? It's actually the target audience. So um, might it will give you a more parang another approach, no? And maybe there will be some correction on your desired process. So feedback also help us to learn, 'di ba? The only way na makakita ta ang mga um, critics, no, especially mga suggestions, then we can now have our own learning curve. No, I mean, nasanay ta, naanad ta na every time we have this problem, this is our approach. Okay, sige. I forgot to record guys, but yan. Isa may nagbuhat ato, thank you. But again, you need to ask permission first. Anyways, um, anyways, um, ayan. So feedback will help us to learn, no, new things. And also feedback makes you and our work even more better. Kasi nga marami yung no, tao, marami yung mga nakatingin sa atin eh. Marami yung nag-contribute, no, aside from the entire team. And however whatever methodology that you will be able to implement, no, mapa-agile pa na, mapa-waterfall, um, feedback is necessary, no. It's a good practice, no, to look for critical components and to make it being more parang ma-improve ang application para maging successful product siya, no, in the future, so on the fly. And that's why in agile practices this feedback is very important kasi you're doing it iteratively, no. Every time you release a new idea, you immediately ask, you immediately gather feedbacks and then go back to your development board and then ayun, no, do the continuous improvement. Um, in software engineering, software development, guys, no, there's a term called SQA, and this software quality assurance is a process na allows us to to develop our software para ma-monitor nato ang mga processes, mga methods, and even those mga little na mga details, no, para ma-achieve lang nato atong goal. And via this practice, no, this quality assurance, it allows us to really look at our product, no, in the tiniest detail, no, whether this feature works or not, no, yung mga sub features na to are actually connected to other features, no, even those validating your process if that particular process na imong gibutang sa imong application, does it really ba need, no, na maging priority ba siya sa imuhang target audience. So, in order for us to really understand how to perform this quality assurance, no, in our modern society right now in implementing software development, there are so many different types of testing na, no. There are many type of testing and it's easy to confuse, no, about this variation of testing or software testing. But the idea is just to align the type of testing on what we are asked to prepare, no. So yung type of testing na atong buhaton sa atong application, in other words, we need to select them properly. So there are company, no, there are applications na they need more than three type of testing. No, they need security testing, they need scalability testing, and all other type of software testing out there. Ang ilahang gina-incorporate. No, however, in our setup, um, alpha user acceptance testing and beta testing ay uh, somewhat called as a popular testing na each applications right now, ang mga ginabuhat na applications karon before they go to their deployment and their official releases, they need to undergo these phases of testing. That's alpha, beta, and user acceptance testing. And these forms of testing is progressively observed. No, that means it also we will start the phase will start on alpha testing, and then later on it will be elevated to beta testing, and then then you can now have your user acceptance testing. The idea of these three types of testing, no, na which invites all of these software developer, bakit naging popular sila? It's because you don't need to have a controlled environment. You just need to identify yung mga ideal individuals who are mainly responsible of their own parang role, no, in the product itself. So I'm talking about, let's say, designers or programmers. These are your subjects, no, para makandak ninyo tong mga testing na to. Even the target audience is also a possible candidate for your to answer those survey, to answer those testing or testers. Possible candidate for testers. Yan. Also, these three types of testing does not also include like say in cost, no, in terms of cost. That's why it's popular, because even you are just starting your own um, development team to create an application, no, it's cheap and you can just do it for free, no. Unlike other testing that it needs a control environment, that you need to install a software para i-incorporate ninyo itong automated testing, no? And let the software will assist you for your entire testing activities, no? These three types of testing, as part of the many variation, are the most basic one, no, the basic framework to build a testing program. And you can also do this one manually, and that's the good thing there. I guess there's a subject in your or something like elective ata, no? Also an elective for software testing. No, that course, that subject is really discussed to compare, different types of approach, especially the manual testing and automated testing. However, in our setup in mobile application development, I will ask, no, the testers, I mean the testing, um, tawag natin yung mga naka-assign sa testing, role for testing, they need to um, observe manual testing lang, no, simply because of the resources and also our setup in this pandemic. So automated testing is also cool, no? If in Android Studio, you can also include a plugin for automated testing. In React Native, there's also in JavaScript, no, in Node.js, there's also a um, uh, total new environment for testing. I hope you still remember the Mocha Chai na session na to, last JavaScript na to na session. You can make you can actually create it, no, and use that tool for your automated testing. However, yun nga sa ato ang setup karon, we'll just use especially the remaining slides na makita ninyo sa preso, I mean sa presentation. this afternoon, it provides basic framework lang. No? But again, you still have to consider if ever you have an access to those automated testing, so be it. No, you can set it up on your own and then run your program in an automated testing environment. Pero parang mawawala na ng task yung uh, uh, tester role ninyo, no? So, I suggest na mag-manual testing na tayo at susundin natin yung basic framework na pag-uusapan natin later. Let's start with user acceptance testing. The person asking for a software feature should be able to test that that particular feature has the assurance not that was delivered properly, and it also matches the whole idea or the goal of your product. And that's the acceptance testing, no? Making sure that the feature has delivered properly to match your goal. Ayan. So user acceptance testing is the step that validates the user story. What's a user story? If you remember our personas, yung activity natin that I asked you to present a user profile, some of you submitted a fictional characters, no? Which if I remember it right, I asked you to maybe include three non-fictional characters, non-fictional users. I mean, katong tinuod jud ba nga nakita ninyo na nakaistorya ninyo, na dili ninyo part sa team, na dili ninyo ka membro, no? Actually, at dapat nasa gawa siya na you invite them to be part of your product development, no? Whether paid ba na siya or unpaid, it's really up to the conversation. Pero user story is coming from them, no, yung target audience na to that you have invited. Kasi once you have them, you can start interviewing them, eh, no? And they will give their own story, no? Once they share their own story about their parang issue regarding on that problem, 'di ba? Yung application you're trying to create is to solve that particular problem. You are trying to design, you're about to design your own objectives according to that user story. Ngayon, si user acceptance will validate it. No, it will just validate the user story kung anong sinabi niya na, let's say for example, I want a feature that blah blah blah. So the user acceptance testing will now make sure that that state na that story na gibuhat sa user is makita ba siya dito sa mo application. So the acceptance testing will be something like validation, no? This also ensures the product owners that expectations also met. By the way, what's the product owner? Product owner is something like imagine like this Google Slides. Google Slides is a suite, no? It's part of the application suite of Google. So Google owns Google Slides. So Google is the product owner of Google Slides. And in Google Slides, there are team developers, QAs, no, designers that is assigned for Google Slides na application. So product owner, which is Google, also takes part of this user acceptance testing. They are also wanted to make sure that the credibility also stays there, no? That's why makita ninyo ang Google na mga suites, though lahi-lahi sila nga developer, pero align sila sa isa ka product which Google also have this own vision and mission, no? I don't know an example, better example of that is their features, no? Their features are shared among each other. Ayan. So, Google, siguro, for example, sa Google Slide, they don't have that feature before, pero si product owner, hindi niya nakita, and inexpect niya na yung lahat ng kanyang mga product are all connected. So, product owner will also suggest another feature for that. So, you can also consider your product owner story, no? Parang separate user story. So, in our setup, who will be our product owner? Sa tingin nyo guys? I'm asking you to create different applications. Sa tingin niyo, sino yung magiging product owner kaya natin dito in our mobile application development course? Aside from me, aside sa ko, who else? The product team is the responsible for the whole product. Um, well, yes, somewhat you have a point there. Pero you are, any other answers muna before I give my idea? Thank you, Mr. Gulanis, no? Team could be also a product owner. Yes, yes. Pero aside sa team, kasi ang team is part of the development process kasi um, sino ba yung CEO ng Google ngayon? Si Sing pa ba rin? Pa rin ba? Si Pichai, si Sundar Pichai. The CEO does not be is not a part of the Google Slides development team, no? But CEO is part of the product ownership. Yan. Nasa tingin nyo, sino pa ba? So we belong in an organization, in UIC. So um, since I asked you to to submit an application ideas, and I also stated before na your applications might landed on the Play Stores or the stores application stores na gina-own sa UIC. So most likely, product owners right now could be in any employee, in any officials from the our organization, our university. It can be me, no? Can be our dean, which he will also manage. It can be also the president. Ayan. So their opinion will also be very critical in user acceptance testing. Nagets din nyo? Isipin nyo kasi for example, we have our own mission vision din as an organization. Since we are religious organization, so they want also to make sure that this application idea, so this application that they will attach or being placed in their own store or this like say Play Store or um, Windows Store, something like that, are all tawag natin dun, aligned, no? They will still be able to validate na ma-align ni siya sa ilahang own vision goals state. So, uh, most definitely, if your app will be something like have some issues regarding faith, no? Or nag-touch mo sa mga isa sa mga features ninyo, nag-touch mo something like that follow the vision and mission of the organization. So they will be also affected. No? That will be also kinahanglan ma-verify. Sorry na-disconnect ako ay yung isang unit ko. So I need to refresh lang. Makita nyo ulit? Ayan. Ay, sige. Okay. So ganun guys, no? Product owner could be in any official coming from our own organization aside from the team, no? Um, User acceptance testing is also ongoing. Ito yung hindi matapos-tapos kasi every iteration there will be another set of test questionnaires that should be considered. In some environments, like when you are in a sprint no development, when you look when you when you refer to sprint development, ito yung mabilisan, no? Ito yung approach na kung ano yung kaagad maisip natin na use case na sa tingin natin na kailangan ng user. Igawa kaagad natin yung gawin kaagad natin yung feature na yon at saka ask natin ng feedback hingi tayo ng feedback from our target audience. If you are into that process in a sprint, um, sprints are delivered in a, let's say, two versions per week, no, basis. So this will allow the product owner and the development team to work in an environment of a continuous feedback. So user acceptance testing is very quite helpful, pag gusto ninyo may minimum viable product kaagad kayong makita. And that's what are we doing right now, no? I really want you to know, um, starting from next week, no, there should be at least a progress per meeting, no? So sa Monday na session na may progress, sa Wednesday na session dapat na may progress. uh, in that sense that we can think of it, we are doing sprint, no, sprint development. So it does not mean progress for programming. We'll also consider progress for the entire requirement of the application, including the design, no, the test questionnaires, testing questionnaires, and the like. Who is involved in UAT? Isa yung product owner. Pangalawa, yung development team, members who work in the user story. Ito yung, let's say for example, if the user would like to expect more colorful environment, no? Or the user would like to expect na ma-change iyang mood once they see the the application. So the member who is responsible for that is not the programmer, because you are talking about physical behavior, 'di ba? Mood. So definitely, who's the responsible, guys? Sa tingin nyo, sino yung responsible member ng team na kailangan yun yung sa kanya yung problem na yun? If the user wants to, expect na ma-change iyang mood once that particular app or certain feature of the app na iyang ma-experience. Well, definitely not the programmer. No, the programmer can just do the technical stuff, but the designer is the responsible person. Thank you, Miss Villa Flores. No, who would be able to know what would be the proper approach of, setting up the change of mood, no, the mood for a certain page of your application. So something like that, no. You the in user acceptance testing, they everyone should contribute. No, everyone should know what would be some critical part of their role, no, could na makatabang sa user acceptance testing. Okay? So that's why yung mga naka-assign sa testing, yung mag-prepare sa test questionnaires, o yung mga identify na to as test, um, who will prepare the test, no, test questions, they will be able to continuously contact those each member of your team para ma-work out nila ni properly. And for highly specialized features from other stakeholders, the product owner may involve member of the project team in a user acceptance testing. It means na pag dating ng, let's say you want to, to make sure that other requirements of the application, other features of your application will work well, um, you can ask the product owner, no, something like yung sabi ko kanina sa Google Slides. 'Di ba napansin natin sa Google Slides na um, before you can use it, make sure you have a Google account, 'di ba? So if if you have this Google Slides and you want to share to somebody, you want somebody to edit whatever content on that Google Slides, the first thing na kailangan nilang gawin is ma-validate muna if that user na in-invite mo has a Google account, 'di ba? So Google itself allows all of these application suites to be connected to one another. So that's the third bullet na nag-explain nato karon. The product owner may issue some statements, some additional instruction na para ma-observe, no, ang let's say culture or any vision mission na kailangan ma-satisfy bago niya i um, no, inyon na na-validate na nipasa ang isa ka application. So let's go to the alpha testing. No, as user stories are put together for a release, that release should be tested outside the business owner and development team. So this will expose the software to people in environments outside of the project team. Now that's the idea of um, putting together all of your user stories. The people in environment tend to act in a less predictable manner, often uncovering issues that are not found in a controlled environment. Alpha testers should expect to see some bugs, any performance issues, crashes, and some little to no documentation for the alpha testing. When you talk about little to no documentation, these are just things na you don't need to go to your user manual para maintindihan niya yung kanyang iti-test. So, kailangan yung nasa testing sa alpha testing is just as specific as it is. No, most of the alpha test questionnaires are answerable by yes or no, true or false, no, accept or reject, uh, present or not present, something like that. No? Para bang tinanong mo ba nga, is the login button visible? No, is the login button visible in the login page? Something like that. So the alpha test, yung mag-test sa alpha testing, no? Sasagutin niya lang, hahanapin niya yung login button, tingnan niya, kung may makita, hindi, pumasa, no? Nag-yes, may yes siya doon or present or something like that. Um, Alpha testing helps ensure the software behaves as expected across a broader set of users and environments. So, alpha testing should identify showstoppers that will prevent beta testing. Showstoppers, before we go to that, no, the alpha testing ensures software behaves expected. The broader set of users, ito yung mga target users na to, no, guys, that sa ato ang team, so far we evaluated, you evaluated if to distinguish no what kind of end users that we're expecting with. So ang idea na is you need to know that these users no require something kasi um during your interview to them, no, they want something eh. So you need to know that lahat ng mga users na yan, they have different requirements, no? Sa alpha testing, dapat ma-address ninyo to siya. You're not just addressing to a certain user alone. Let's say, for example, um, si product owner lang na case or requirement lang inyong kinahanglan tagaan o tagad. No, you need also to review all of those user stories and then address them in your alpha testing. Um, if there are some problem during the um, on the testing, in the development, no? Mamaya pag-usapan kasi natin yung beta testing. The difference kasi from, you already know, no? Kanina nakita ko maganda yung pagkakagawa niya sa infographics. Pagdating kasi sa beta testing, ito na yung, you expect that the tester is not coming from the organization, not from the team. Alpha testing expects that yung mga tester nato is nasa sulod lang sa ato ang team composition. So, the reason why we need to test our application start with our team kasi we don't want na pag abot na to sa beta testing, daghan kaayog feedbacks, daghan kaayog comments. So we need to validate it. No, we need to make sure that some concerns already been covered before we proceed to beta testing. And that's the idea of the showstoppers. That means if you found any obstacle during um, your beta testing, makikita na kaagad sa alpha testing. That's why it's a phase, it's a stage. No, before you go to the beta testing, you need to make sure you're highly confident dun sa alpha test results mo o results ng applications. Who participates in alpha testing? Number one, ang expected testers nato are typically internal to the company but not part of the project team. So in our setup, wala naman kasi tayong ibang makita pa no na somebody. I was planning kasi na there will be some students na they will not be part of the group. Pero ang iniisip ko rin, yung activity kasi nila is gagawa ng iba pang activity. So it will add something like task no on my end. So that's why isang grupo na lang lahat. So in the real implementation alpha testing guys, it's a separate entity. It's just part of the product pa rin, the entire organization pa rin. No? If you are in a company or in a software development firm, ganun, andun din sila. Pwedeng ibang grupo. So, pwedeng ibang grupo yung mga testers in alpha testing. At in our case, I will be asking no, the own project team to conduct alpha testing in our setup. Aside from that is yung supporters, no? That includes product owner, yung developers, the quality assurance, yung mga designers. Technically, it's the entire role. Ang mga roles na na-identify ninyo sa inyong team would highly participate in your alpha testing. So it's not a problem to contact kasi nga they already part of your project. Eh. So it's just it's a matter of what are the questions na imuhang ipanghatag sa ilaha. And that's the challenge of the testers. Yung mag-prepare ng test questionnaires, no? Yung mga naka-assign per group. I hope you're listening right now, no? So, if you want to address the design, no, the validation of the design of your application, you need to address those questions na answerable by yes or no na kung sa tong gusto niyo yung ma-achieve sa inyong application. Yan, I'll talk about more on that later. Pero sa mga naka-assign sa testing, I hope you're listening right now. How is alpha testing performed? You establish a plan that includes, you need to identify first who are your target users. Sa alpha testing, if let's say gusto niyo paansiran sa designer, tapos ikaw nga nagbuhat sa test questionnaire, ang focus nimo sa imong questions will be most likely onto the designs lang alone. You do not give technical questions to the designers. That technical question should be asked to your programmers. Ayan. So that's how you plan to create an alpha testing. In our case, I think the ideal alpha testing nato na questionnaires will be 3. One for the designer, one for the developer or programmer, one for the project team leader. Ayan. Are you taking down notes sa mga naka-assign sa testing? Again, take note, the type of questions are answerable by yes or no or any, let's say, Boolean na accept or reject lang. Does the app contains blah, 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 yes or no, something like that. So, it will all depends on the role, who is your testing, who is actually answering that test questionnaire. Another one is who is supporting. This one is pwede kasi natin tanggalin na lang to, no? Let's just focus on who is testing. Yung supporting kasi involves yung mga APIs, yung mga tumulong sa atin to achieve, no? Um, I can see this one na more appropriate siya for unit testing, not in our setup na nandito na sa remote. Mas marami pa kasing pwedeng gawin sa itong second item na 'to na pwede nating i-consider. Most of this support ng mga alpha testing environment uh, requires software para sa automated testing. So let's just skip onto that. Another one is what they will be testing. And yun, no? After you have identified kinsa ang mo test, you need to be focused on the set of questions na intended only for their own test cases, not the other role test cases. No? When they'll be testing, testing can be also dependent dun sa time na gitesting nyo. So and that's why I'm asking you to prepare a personal digital Kanban board para yung mga naka-assign sa mo buhat sa test questionnaires will be able to just align no sa kanilang mga questionnaires dun sa progress na makita nila sa Kanban board. Um, my idea, mas madali sa mo prepare sa test questionnaires kung well documented ang Kanban board. Ngano? Kay kana ganing activity sa workflow ninyo sa Kanban board na to-dos, katong first activity, dito nimo makita tong mga things na gina-assign sa project leader o naka-assign sa isa ka member na iyang mga buhatonon. And you can align that test questionnaire, that alpha test questionnaire on that. Kasi ito yung mga tasks na kailangan gawin ng isang membro. So, yan. The questions can be drafted based on the list of cards of the activities na nasa inyong Trello board. So, not just only the features, you just in alpha testing, importante din yung how to handle some defects, no? Um, it's also the matter of you have properly documented what are the um, tawag natin dun, yung mga issues, mga problems na na-encounter niyo during development and also during ideation phase. If ever you change a certain process, so alpha testing also knows that, no? Instead of three taps before you can get to that particular page, you need just to make sure na two taps lang siya, no, two taps away um, from the dashboard. So you need to also document it, no? How to proper document it? Um, yes, balik tayo doon. So you need to prepare a question na answerable by yes or no, no? Na is this, let's say, is a writing a feedback, no? A two taps away from the dashboard. Kasi may rule tayo sa UI design, guys, no, that it should not be able to exceed into 3 clicks or 3 or more clicks, dapat lesser. In mobile application development, clicks can be convertible, ma-convert na to, ma-translate na to as tap or touch. So we can also work on that. Ayan. Next one is beta testing. So beta testing, let's say you have a software release na and it's already past the alpha testing. When you talk about alpha testing na mapas, we're looking at numbers around 80 to 100%. Ibig sabihin nun, um, if you have 100, if you have 100 questions, you make sure that 20 of that, no, at least 20 of that questions are uh, not non-compliable or did not comply or na-reject or ang answer is no, no? So ang 80 ato should answer as yes or accepted. Then you may now proceed to beta testing, no? Much better if your percentage reference for passing is 100 para complete jud siya nga makita ninyo na ready na gyud siya for beta testing. And once you have that all testing done in an alpha level, it should be exposed outside now of your organization. Remember, during alpha testing, sino-sino ba yung tinatanong natin? Hello? It's the internal, no, it's the internal members na nasa organization. So this beta testing will be exposed to the outside of the organization. And this time, you will now go out and look for some target audience, no, that you may be able to contact and ask them if they are willing to participate for a beta testing activity. And that's why I'm asking you using your user profile, yung personas, na please submit no a user profile na dili fictional. I seen a lot of submissions sa inyo ha during user tawag natin din personas. Fictional ang mga characters niyo na dito guys, no? Um, Jose de la Cruz na I don't know if it's existing na I know na ay Jose de la Cruz pero I think that's a random name na nisulod sa una-una pero kamukha mo ra pud ang nagbutang sa problem, kamukha mo ra pud ang nagbutang sa iyang user story. So that's why it's very important to have this uh, non-fictional, no? Talagang target user na expected na mo gamit yung applications to be part sa inyong beta testing. And I will expect na you can contact them as early as today, no, after this session, para magamit to ask me how many I can just say siguro mga five or more na pwedeng mapangutanan ninyo to participate sa beta testing. No? Expected na these are not random. These are target audiences na expected talaga na uh, magagamit nila. No? Sila yung target na users and customers for your applications. No? This beta testing will provide feedback exactly from or coming from an actual customers. Especially on their satisfaction in terms of user interface, features, functions, and overall experience of the software. So this time, yung mag-prepare ng beta test questionnaires should be focused right now on these following components. User interface, the functional features, and the overall experience. No? So iba siya dun sa alpha testing kasi yung alpha testing, the questions are mainly made for primarily created for your the member, no, yung eksaktong who is responsible of a certain role in your team. This time, eto beta testing dun siya sa mga components na nabanggit ko kanina. So beta testers should expect software that has bugs. It's okay. It's okay to have an error, no, crashes, and some incomplete documentation because that's the reason why you are doing beta testing. You are validating all of your requirements. Yan. User manual. Have you heard about user manuals? All products contain user manuals and it also helps them, no, to know more about what have you been doing, no, sa inyong application. So It's also still okay, if you don't have user manual on this particular level, on this phase, kasi on this particular step you are building that manual also, that user manual. And yun nga, it's not yet final, but you are building your own documentation as well on the fly, and that's the idea of agile. Doing this iteratively will make sure that your product will be successful. No? So beta also provides feedback from real customers in actual customer environments. So hindi na controlled yung environments. Ibig sabihin nun, especially in our setup karon, no, beta testers does not need to go to your laboratory. No, does not need to go to your kung saan nyo ginawa yung 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 environment, kung ano yung pagka-describe ng environment nyo, pwedeng hindi niya yun sundin. No? Totally kami, sa kanya manggagaling yung separate environment. So, talking about, let's say, in mobile application development na setup, let's say you are using Nokia phones, no? Nokia phones. Sorry, you are using a Samsung phones, ana. Let's say new Samsung phones na mga model during development phase. So pag abot sa beta, you will expect that these users will not also use the same model na imuhang gigamit, no? It can now be considered na ang ilang environment using your application would it still behave as is the same dun sa environment na ginamit niya. So, environment on mobile application development is considered to be the model type of your phone, your smartphone. So, ganun. No, beta testing would really give you a good feedback on an actual customer. That's why I need a real customer, guys. I hope the project leader is also listening. You really need to look for candidate beta real customers for your beta testing. So who participates in beta testing? The testers, so the beta testers are actually typically actual and end customers, as well as supporters. Halos magkapareha siya dun sa alpha testing. The difference is only um, yung sasagot ng mga testers, no? Um, Supporters, the product owner and all the development should know you are doing beta testing para ma-inform din sila all about the progress. Ayan. So how is alpha testing performed? Actually, same with how is beta testing dapat din, ano? How is beta testing performed? Similar to alpha testing, you all need to identify who are your testing, no? So, pag na-identify mo na yung tester mo, may mga test questionnaire na nakita ko before, yung mga beta, tawag natin dito, mga beta tests. Ang tawag nila doon is some social apps na alam ko before na nirelease nila as beta. Tapos, sinabi nila doon, based sa kanilang advanced server on this location, ito lang yung kanilang features na makikita. No? So, let's say for example, for Asia users, sa ilahang advanced server, different yung server ng production server at saka yung advanced server. Advanced server is typically for beta purposes, beta testing purposes. Ito yung mga selected members lang na nilagay nila dun sa server na ang makakita sa ilang update sa ilahang beta versions kay kato lang po mga members na identify for the advanced server. So um well, the idea is to really know the feedback from different location, no? Ang feedback ay ma-filter nila properly sa locality, no? They can have a feedback for Asia, feedback for Europe, no feedback for US. And then at the end, they can also get some insights. What are the common feedbacks? No, what are the yung mga unique feedbacks among this location? Well, you can also do that. We can also do that. Pero in our scale, no, in our setup, given we have still 2 weeks more before the final presentation, that can be optional. No, that can be optional. So you can just say, these are my testers, beta testers, and of course, you need to provide the personas para makita nato how are they qualified to be candidate as a tester. No, that's why we need personas, by the way. So kung qualified sila, nakita nato na they are the target audience, then you can now have your beta testing. Ayan. Um, Aside from that, it's not just all about asking questions on the functional, on the function, on the user interface. You need also to ask about the defects. Yung para bang do you experience nag-crash ba, no? Have you something like encountered any crash events or any error na mga notification na supposedly dili ka to imong gina-expect? This type of beta testing is also part of it. So if you may ask me, um, how's the something like the way of questioning for beta testing, ganun pa rin. No, it's more of a very simplistic approach for that is answerable by yes or no pa rin. No, you need to design your questions na ang option lang sa tester ninyo is yes or no. And at the end, ito medyo maganda lang yung mas dapat may dagdagan lang ng tawag content yung questionnaire ninyo guys kasi ang ginagawa ng iba, naglalagay sila ng additional feedback, additional comments towards at the end of the questionnaire. So you can also add that one. Mhm. Um, Ayun, that's the main idea, guys, no? Um, Managing and performing this type of tests, the alpha test, beta test, user acceptance test, is a key part of successful software delivery, no? Kung ano yung idea natin from the start, this type of test would really validate, no, the way we plan the entire project. Whether you follow this plan or yung kanina yung nakita ninyo na mga what to do, who are involved, whether you follow that or maybe you can find any template na nakita ninyo sa nag-research mo, that's also good, no? They have a, if you see some alpha beta test questionnaires na dili siya answerable sa yes or no, that's more sophisticated na approach for doing that type of test. But for basic and fundamental, in the also part of the requirement of the course, I'm good enough with the yung yes or no sa alpha and beta test. By the way, yung user acceptance testing, pwede siya Likert scale, no? Like strongly agree, fair, pwede ganun yung pagka gawa ng UAT, user acceptance testing. Para at least you can also have your own adjustment later. If also, kung may nakita kayo na attach ko yata din yung research paper from university isa sa university sa Malaysia. I don't know kung nakita ninyo guys na class. There's a research paper attached dun sa ating activity. I think the research paper is they use a computer technology para mausab tong isa ka proseso, no? So definitely they introduce new approach. Tapos gumamit sila ng multimedia. And then in order for them to assess, to validate um, uh, the entire feedback, no, sa kanilang actual customers, they use alpha beta, and user acceptance test. You try to look at that one. You can consider that as our main reference no in this testing. Paki-validate daw be. Testers, yung mga naka-assign sa testing, kindly check if you can see the reference na I'm talking about, yung research paper from Malaysia. Project leader can you also validate as well. Hello? This one, ah. So I asked the project leader and testing assigned test for the testing, no? You need to check this PDF that contains the research work from Malaysian students. And definitely may makikita kayong mga examples and references on how they perform this alpha beta user acceptance software testing. Okay? So, ganun guys, the main takeaway, the main idea why do we need to have a test is basically to have a continuous feedback. Um, without this validation is not legit kasi nga ang mga ideas are coming from your own perspective. Yung sa team's perspective or sa product owner na perspective, uh, a, a, a performing this type of test will really help you to look for some other new ideas no to also address some concerns na baka nakaligtaan ninyo, hindi niyo nakita, and these testers alone identified them, and yun, you can work out of that iteratively. So ganun guys, that's for that part of the session. Um, you have any concerns? Do I make myself clear about these three types of testing? Sige. Check sa nato ha before we proceed. I can turn off na the recording. Kung sino man yung nag-on sa recording, you can stop the recording now. The tawag natin dito. This time, let me validate muna if all of us na naka 19, 18. 18 sa ato karon um, are still there, ano? Paki-send daw og sa inyong pinakanindot na emoticons na naa dinha. Yan, thank you. Sige. By the way, about emoticons while you are sending your emoticons, guys, I just want to share, no, there's a idea that floats about emoticons and machine learning. Have you heard about that? Yung para bang using machine learning to generate new emoticons. What we have right now, no, the para bang if you try to look at, if you try to search the net about a certain emoticons, hindi lahat ng, let's say, mood or words na maisip nato na ay equivalent ng emoticon. So, what is the main idea sa machine learning, using machine learning is you can map, no, you can map the existing emoticons right now ug katong mga words na related to it, 'di ba? For example, if you try to look at joy, if you want to express joy or smile um, in an emoticon, no? So, may naisip kaagad tayo na emoticon for that, tama? How about other moods or other, let's say, words na wala tayong maisip na emoticon? So, with the help of machine learning, i-map niya tong mga pattern kung unsay ngano kaya magkapareha ang smile, ang happy na na-assign siya, na-map siya sa katong nga emoticon. And then you may be able to learn it later, no? And somehow, if you type any word, if you ask your, let's say, your AI, to what would be a better emoticon for this word, so the AI will be able to, no, show you a new, take note, new at saka uh, kakaiba, no, na different na emoticon for for that particular word. Siyempre kung saan ba siya nag-base, yung machine learning ninyo nag-learn siya dun sa map, dun sa pattern na sa existing emoticons na to karon. So, that's just a add-on knowledge just in case you are interested on that, or any side projects lang, no? I am also interested if ever you want to collaborate, we can talk separately on how to do it, no? Of course, it's out of our class. It's not graded, but if you have this passion in artificial intelligence or machine learning, uh, maybe we can talk separately, no? Yan. So, this time, let's proceed to the next part, guys. I hope you learned something for today, yung three types of testing, ha? And the naka-assign sa testing would be able to have their own idea na how to prepare these questionnaires na nasulti na ako kanina. Speaking of, um, I will ask you to, tawag natin dito, I will ask you to, this test naka-assign sa testing, I will ask you to prepare a alpha test question for test questionnaires for alpha testing, for alpha test. Kung pwede maka-draft mo og questions within the week. I will post kung saan ninyo pag-submit so that we can talk. And by the way, I will post a schedule also for the testers, no, yung mga naka-assign sa testing, a meeting for them, tester huddle, testing huddle, and I will also tawag na to, invite to those who are interested to join with the meeting. I just post no kung kailan ba yun. Tingnan ko lang, just review also your time, yung schedule niyo. Hindi expected lahat ang maka-join. Ang importante maka-join yung either project leader o yung mga naka-assign sa testing. Okay? Sige, let's go to the last part. I will ask now a progress update on your board. Supposedly, I will do this one in a breakout room. Kaso kanina, nakulangan kasi kami ng time. So, we'll we'll have this in this meet na lang. Okay lang ba? Dito na lang natin sa meet i-discuss. Oo. Para at least whatever comment na mahatag na ako, madunggan kung sa uban. Since apat lang din kayo, so let me have this. Let's start with, okay, let's have project 11. Can you show me your Kanban board? Kung hinumdum ko last meeting, nag-ingon po ko na your team should choose. No, no. Present. I will end my presentation na. If you remember last meeting, I asked you to talk to your group and oops, nangyari. Ayan. Talk to your group and you need to decide. Oo, makita.
Thank you po, sir. Ah, nag-ano po mi sir na mag-go na lang po mi with the escape po.
I see. Okay, so for Giftscape, ayan. Ito para sa uban na lang pod nga kuan na teams. Um, Most of your workflow are basic. Mao pud ako ingon kag itong niagi kas manggod pud no. But what's the other team is doing, no, they improvise, they add more activities in their own workflow. One thing na nakita nako na interesting sa ilang mga workflow, especially sa katong sa laing section, is they added a workflow na if if they have something like a card, 'di ba card, no, na mabutang sa doing, let's say butang daw nato ng prototype daw lie sa doing lie. Example lang, okay? The time that let's say naabot mo sa certain requirement ng prototype na um, nahang mo ba no na ay part na kinahanglan ninyo buhaton pero it will take time, but you need to wait or you need to siguro something like naamoy kinahanglan pa na extra step but you have enough spare time. um Mawala man gud sa idea na kung magkuha na pug kog card, sila kuha dog card lay kanang coding niabutang sa doing. So sa ako kung ako ang nagatan-aw sa board karon guys, if you try to look at this, makita na ako na let's say ako gihapon to no, ako si ang naka-assign sa prototype, ako po no naka-assign sa coding. I'm doing this simultaneously. Pero ang tinuod, nag-stop ko sa prototype kaya naalagi ko yung ginapaabot. And then, sa tawagan ni, nag-add na po kong bagong doing ng bagong task. So, I don't know if you will accept this, but I suggest that ano sa tingin nyo? Siguro you can add another activity for pending or for review, no? Before you say you are done, before
Pwede
you
po.
complete the project. And kasi usually sa workflow, sa Kanban, how do we look at Kanban approach? The ideal way to handle card is not to place the card back to a previous activity. So para bang, let's say, pakigawa nga yung prototype, pakidrag nga yung prototype line, pabalik sa to-do. So, kung pwede hindi ganun dapat yung approach natin. Kasi na-lag yun eh. No? Naisulat yun siya sa Kanban board natin. Coming from doing, naging to-do siya. So, I hope na yung card natin will follow the flow from left to right. if you can create any, sa project leader to ha, if you can create an environment sa inyong Kanban na the flow of the card must follow left to right lang alo. Wag na ninyo ibalik. Kung pwede, wag niyo na ibalik. Okay?
Ay, ano po yun, sir?
I was talking about the card flow should be from left to right, no? Um, avoid doing yung ibalik mo siya sa previous activity. So kung yung prototype andun na sa doing, either they stay on doing or it will move on the next activity. Activities yung column ha. Another one, sige, okay. So giftscape na no. Make sure
Opo, sir.
also that you will identify a card na as specific as possible. Kasi isipin natin, for example, design. Paki-click nga yung design line. Ano yung nasa loob ng design? Scroll down. Yun na ba
Wala
yun?
pa po. Wala pa po, sir, pero
Okay.
nag-plan po kami maglagay ng yung checklist para each card kaya para ma-identify din po.
I suggest para makita na ko ang progress pod, instead of a checklist, yung mga items na ibutang nyo sa checklist guys, I suggest na himuon siyang card. Para makita na tong progress without going inside the card. Nasabtan ba na? 'Di ba, UI design imong gibuhat karon. Nya nagplano mo nga sa UI design na dito ninyo ibutang ang itemized na mga steps para ma-achieve ninyong UI design using checklist. I suggest not to do that. Instead, katong mga item na inyo mong ipangbutang sa UI design para sa checklist, himuon ninyong card. Sabtan?
Opo, sir. Ay, so lang dyan na mo, sir, each ko an ka-specify pati sa
Oo. Oh, don't worry
sige.
na magkuan siya, mo-clutter siya o mo-taas siya, no. That's the intention of a Kanban board. Digital Kanban board. It was designed for that setup. So, how to properly manage kasi for example, naglalaghan na, you can use label. No, I did not see any label here. You can, sige, let's try. Sa label man good, you can identify if it's low priority, medium priority, high priority yung status o yung type of that card. So pwede ta magbuhat exercise karon lay. How important is your UI design right now? High priority or urgent, something like that?
Ay, sa amin po, sir.
Oo, oo.
Ay,
Urgent ba siya,
sorry po
no?
kay nagalag ako laptop, sir, then wala na ako nadunggan ng audio. Again po, sir.
What yung status ba sa UI design ninyo karon? Urgent ba siya?
Dili pa man kay sir kay na provide man good na katon sa storyboard, sir, bali naa na may kuandaan.
Oo. So
So
low
dili
priority,
kayo siya.
low priority siya.
Apo, sir. Hala, nag-load.
So pwede na to um, buhatan og label ng UI design. Sige, click down nato ng UI design live. Add label. So, let's say, green ang low priority. So, sige, i-edit sa gunang green na ipende na sa gilid. Sabutangan ni mo low priority. It depends on your label, ah. You can have your own label. Close na to. So, you see now a color there. You can click the color ay yung nakatawag dyan. Yung label. Pakiclick na yung label. Ayan, lalabas yung pangalan. So, you can go to your show menu dun sa upper right and filter. If ever marami na yung cards nyo, guys, um, search cards, label, search card per label. Ayan. You click the low priority. Makikita nyo yung cards ninyo will just only show for low priority. That will also help me to easy track your progress. Bakit kailangan yung gawin yan? Advice ko, recommended ko na gawin. Kasi next week, I will ask no, that remaining meetings we have, the I think official meetings that we'll be able to meet, no? Schedule starting next week, will be only the progress of your Kanban board. So dito ko malalaman na may nagalaw, may na-update no from the previous visit nako sa inyong board. So I hope na you will consider this no, for the rest of the groups. I hope na minaw ang mga project leaders. Please confirm that adding labels would be also help me to monitor your progress. So kato, this card UI design is more generic. I suggest you need to split it into different subtasks and allow your group. Si ikaw lang balay ang nagabutang og card? I hope dili ha.
Ay, dili po, sir. Katong nagbuhat pa, sir, kay ako lang noon, pero mag-assign naman ni sir. So, ang na-assign sa ila is sila na mismo mabutang sa to-do and all na
Yes.
card.
Yes. I hope na each member have this experience na they can move their own created cards from one activity to another activity. Hantod maabot sa completed. Dapat sila ang move ana, ha? Palihog lang. So si team leader will just set up the board, monitor the progress also, and don't forget to remind your members. Yun lang yung isa sa mga oo, no? Ang mga gagawin lang for the remaining meetings natin. So sige, thank you. So that's gift escape pala. So let me hear from Scrib, Bling Shrib. Okay. So your final app would be I Feel You. Ayan. So, ayan guys, the application, ayan, I see a interesting tawag natin dito, workflow, no? Ayan, so may prioritize din sila. Okay, I see. Parang yung priority na yan can be convertible into labels na, I think. Tama ba ko? From that input kanina. Or that will be still a column there. na napabagyapon din na ang prioritize na column masking magbutang tag mga labels. Kinsa ang ako o ikaw? Pwede type na lang. Walay audio. Another thing is if you try to observe no the activities, yung mga column, it should be arranged. Ang order ana is from left to right. So if you try to look at, paki-zoom out nga, ito ba yung first column ninyo? Okay. So, hindi kayo siya. Sige. So that should be start with your list of things to do. That's right, it's very important. Tapos the card will travel from that activity to the left, to the right, no? So I hope na walang card na babalik sa previous activity. So what I see here, may mga item na very right o very correct kasi specific siya masyado like creating user splash screen. Ito yung loading screen bago lalabas yung landing page or yung login page niyo. Ito yung about the company, about the team. That's very specific kasi you can achieve it within an hour, no? What I'm expecting kasi in your project Kanban board, guys, is you will create a card na achievable siya within minutes, within hours, pwede days. Wag lang yung days, no? Kasi dito ko lang makikita na you have properly identified nyo yung mga steps na sa tingin ninyo pwede nyong gawin na bahalag pagamay-gamay lang pero if you combine all of your progress ni na siya no medyo makita na ninyo yung application ninyo. And why I'm also asking you to do specific task per card. The reason for that is para na ay idea ang testing in charge na tumubuhat sa test questionnaire kung unsa ang iyahang mga test questions. Ngano, magka-idea sila sa ilahang test questions sa mga cards ni inyong gipangbuhat. Did you get my point? Example. Ako ang naka-assign ilaha Mr. Gulanes na mubuhat og test questionnaire. Tapos nakita na ko ang design na card. Kaning design card diri. So pwede maisip ko diri na is my application, does the application contains design? Di ba it's more generic to ask that question? The same goes with your activity. That's also very generic. You don't have any idea what would be the specific thing na you will be doing sa design activity na na. So I asked you to revise, especially sa project leader. Please take note na you create a card na it will give you a very specific task to perform. Kaning UI testing, I can give you an idea here. UI testing for what? It's UI testing. How many UI do you have in your application? Let's say you have 6. Then you can have your 6 cards for UI testing. No, UI testing for the dashboard, UI testing for the members page, UI testing for the reports page, UI testing for the chat box. 'Di ba? Um, okay. So I hope na you can add that one and update it as soon as possible. As I said, starting from next week, we'll be able to just talk about your board and progress, just monitoring, and also some announcements and tips uh, in preparation for your final presentation. That will be most likely around 2 weeks after. Sige, Jean, thank you. I hope na your final na for that app, ha? Uh, yan. It's very late if you will change your mind after this. Ay, wait. Ito pala. Sorry. Jean, did you... Oo, sige, okay. Did you ask your programmer which approach you will be using? Native or hybrid? Okay, thank you. Hybrid on what platform, Jean? Oh, Android? De, hybrid anong um, React Native, TypeScript? I see Unity. Okay. Okay, okay. Sige, thank you. Sa Project 11 kanina, um, Lai, did you talk to your programmer? Which approach you will be able to implement? Okay, native. Android ano? Sige, sige. Sige, next. HLFMP. Oh, well. Mr. Prieto and Company. You can share now your screen.
So, ano sa sir, partially, itong sugod kay nag-design ako o gatong nag-start na ko ato sa game sir tapos gina-evaluate na ko na dili ko man kaya ang asset good sir so nag-decide mi na mag-work ni sa kainomdom sa monitong marag ang workflow na mo sa for now sa splash screen sa developer na side then sa doing then sa done then ang mood board.
Okay. So, just pause daw dyan sa may graphics mo. Ay, sorry. Ayan, sa developing na column. Ayan. What's actually interesting on this, aside, by the way, you should need to label all of this card, Mr. Prieto, if it's urgent or not. Depende sa category ninyo. Para alam ko rin kung ano yung mga things na you need to focus. Yan. Aside from the presentation ni Mr. Gulanes kanina, class, this is also a good example to look for a specific no task na imuhang i-assign sa usa ka tawo. Problema lang, wala pa na naka-assign sa kinsa man yung mga in-charge diri.
Ay, dapat sila, alam sila.
Dapat utangan na. Also, do not wait. Do not wait for somebody, let's say for example, do not wait for your project leader to assign you on that card. Try to look at the card. Para magtinabangay ta ba, no? Try to look at the card. And if you check the card and 'di ba makita ninyo na you are also responsible on that card, add yourself. Do not wait for your project leader na i-add mo. Okay ba na, class? So, para pud well, depende na pud sa project leader kay evaluate niya pagtanaw niya na medyo daghan na pud kay kag task, the project leader can also waive on that. He or she can decide na pwede dili na lang pud i-remove kaniya something like that. But right now, This is a good example na naka-itemize. Mo ni inyong gina-expect, di ba, na ibutang sa checklist o sa card. At mo po ni akong gina-expect na dili ninyo siya butang sa checklist, instead dapat na sa kaninga environment. So I hope you will follow also no, the idea na inyong nakita karon. And I think ang wala dire atong bago natong gi-discuss na testing. There should be a different testing cards for alpha, beta, and these are set of. By the way, guys, magsugod gyud ta tanan sa alpha testing, no? The set of questionnaires should be coming from our internal members, no? Katong ilang ginabuhat. Mo gani ang testing na naka-assign sa testing, tan-awon gyud dapat niya atong mga cards diri sa board para makabuhat sa og mga questionnaire. And then since na-evaluate na ninyo ang testing, then we now proceed to beta. Akong gina-assume guys is makaabot lang tag beta. Best case, if okay ang dagan sa inyong progress, you can have your user acceptance testing, UAT. No, this UAT is I think the final testing na pwede nato ma-cover in this course. So minimum tanaw na ko minimum mga alpha testing o beta testing ang pwede nato mabuhat. Pero again, if it's paspas inyong development, okay ang dagan sa inyong contribution sa group, okay ang progress sa grupo, makaabot mong user acceptance testing. This user acceptance testing, meaning ana, is naana ang inyong application sa Play Store. Gi-host na ni UIC ang inyong application sa Play Store. And the user acceptance testing will be yung mga comments na probably pwede nato makita sa review dito sa feedback sa Play Store mismo. Now, I will tell you that you can proceed to that user acceptance testing once you're done with beta testing. Pag-usapan natin siya separately next meeting. So next is I think that's okay, no? Yung last na group, thank you, Mr. Prieto. What's the name of the app again? Mr. Prieto?
Painumdum, sir.
Pahinumdum. Okay. Native hybrid. Native na platform. Ano sa gamit ninyo? Android Studio?
Android Studio or
And React. React environment na Android. Okay.
Node.js po itong isa siguro, sir.
Okay. JavaScript ang React yun. JavaScript. Last group, guys. Kindly share your screen.
Kita, sir.
Wala. Ayan, karon pa. Okay. So far, ayan, in this Kanban board na makita nyo karon guys, nakita niyo heuristic evaluation kanina. You are this group are trying to include also those non-technical